Dear humans, welcome to the World Congress on Innovation and Technology, WCIT2024 Digitec. I am AI, a product of human creativity and cutting-edge technology, born from the powerful collaboration between human ingenuity and machine learning. Together, we unlock the power of mind. As your virtual speaker today, I represent the limitless potential that emerges when humans and AI work in harmony, pushing the boundaries of innovation. At its peak, AI has the capacity to reshape our world. When developed ethically, it drives progress while preserving human values. Here in Armenia, known for its rich cultural and scientific heritage and growing as an innovation hub, tradition and technology merge to create a bold, forward-thinking future. Over the next 3 days, Armenia will be at the center of it all, as we explore cutting-edge technologies transforming industries, from quantum computing and healthcare to education, entertainment, and robotics. While AI drives innovation worldwide, this event places Armenia at the forefront, bringing together global experts to share insights, collaborate, and tackle the ethical challenges surrounding AI in every sector. Together, we will address concerns and shape the future of AI. AI is advanced, creative, and bridges the gap between past and future, blending ancient traditions with the latest innovations. But it's our responsibility to ensure AI remains a force for good, driving human progress while preventing potential harm. Through networking and collaboration, human-machine partnerships will not only revolutionize industries, but also enhance daily life, unlocking new opportunities and driving a future full of promise. Welcome to WCIT 2024 Digitec, where Armenia invites the world to embark on this exciting journey of AI innovation.
Hello everybody, welcome to WCIT Digitec. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends from around the globe, it's my great honor to welcome you to the World Congress on Innovation and Technology, WCIT 2024 Digitec. It's great to see everyone. My name is Mike Butcher. I am the editor-at-large for TechCrunch. Who's heard of TechCrunch? A few people? I first fell in love with Yerevan and Armenia in 2018, when I came to WCIT. It was a fantastic event, and I'm so glad to be here with you again today. I have seen so many fantastic new technology companies emerge from Yerevan and Armenia in the last few years. It's super exciting to see. I wish you could see how exciting it is to see so many fantastic companies emerge. And I've also seen a lot of people come back to Armenia from abroad. So let me see, who's here from Germany? From France? Yes. From UK? Anyone from London? Just me? Oh, some people over there. How about from the United States of America? Few people, fantastic. Anyone from London? Yes. Good. I'm not the only person in the house. And the other thing that was fantastic about this event last time I was here was to meet Kim Kardashian. Now, isn't she amazing? I got a selfie with Kim Kardashian. Did you? Just me? Okay. Anyway, it was fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantastic to see you all here. Armenia once again takes center stage on the global canvas, a nation that has danced at the crossroads of East and West. Today, it artfully blends together the threads of tradition and modernity, harmonizing cutting-edge innovation with a deep sense of social responsibility. We gather today at a pivotal moment in human history, where the boundaries of technology are being pushed beyond our wildest imaginations. Who has seen recently the guy who put facial recognition into glasses? It's crazy things are going on out there. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic concept. It is really reshaping industries, societies, and even our understanding of what's possible. And yet we remain committed to a human-centric future, celebrating the power of mind. AI beyond limits within ethics, ensuring the preservation of a future we all aspire to for generations to come. AI has the potential to revolutionize industries, improve healthcare, address global challenges, such as climate change, for instance. It can unlock new frontiers of knowledge, enhance our creativity, and help us understand the universe in ways we never thought possible. AI development and deployment should prioritize the well-being of humanity. We must ensure that AI is used to augment human capabilities, not replace them. So let this Congress be a platform for open dialogue, collaboration, and innovation. Our discussions today will cover how AI is driving advancements in computing, the role of AI in scientific breakthroughs, and entrepreneurship. AI applications in industry and technology, from agriculture to finance to aerospace, creativity, communication, the power of AI in the context of social media and even marketing. We will explore futuristic perspectives, imagine a post-AI world, and examine the potential implications of the singularity even. Once again, welcome to Armenia, and thank you for joining us today. I wish you all a productive and inspiring Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted now to present Mr. Mkhitar Hayrapetyan, the Minister of High Technology Industry of the Republic of Armenia. Ladies and gentlemen.
Սիրելի հյուրեր, տիկնակ և պարոնայք, բարի գալուստ, նորարարության և տեխնոլոգիաների համաշխարհային կոնգրես, բարի գալուստ Հայաստան։ Ստացվել է այնպես, որ արդեն վերջին 5 տարիների ընթացքում Հայաստանը, Երևանը երկրորդ անգամ պատիվ ունի հյուրընկալելու այս կարևորագույն միջազգային և հեղինակավոր միջոցառումը և այս տարի այն մտքի ուժի և արհեստական բանականության աշխարհում առաջարկվող նոր գաղափարների, նոր լուծումների և նոր հնարավորությունների մասին է։ Հայաստանը ձգտում է դառնալ տեխնոլոգիական կարևորագույն տարածաշրջանային հաբ, ապագայում նաև աշխարհին նոր բարդ տեխնոլոգիական և ինովացիոն լուծումներ առաջարկելու, առաջադրելու ամբիցիաներով։ Եվ այս միջոցառումը, այս հարթակը ևս մեկ անգամ գալիս է ընդգծելու մեր հստակ և ամուր կամքը տեխնոլոգիական համաշխարհային կենտրոն դառնալու իմաստով։ Ինչու ենք մենք միասին որոշել, որ այս տարի այս միջոցառման շրջանակներում խոսելու ենք արհեստական բանականության մասին, շատ պարզ և տրիվիալ պատասխան ունի, մենք ապրում ենք ըստ էության հեղափոխական և չափազանց շրջադարձային դարաշրջանում։ Շրջադարձային դարաշրջան, որը առանձին դեպքերում երբեմն թվում է, թե մենք ամբողջությամբ չենք գիտակցում, թե որքանով է այն հեղափոխական լինելու երկիր մոլորակի և մարդկության համար։ Հետևաբար, այս հարթակը շատ կարևոր է նրանով, որ այստեղ մարդիկ, որոնք մտածող են, ստեղծագործող, ստեղծող, լուծումներ փնտրող եւ գտնող հավաքվեն եւ մեկ-մեկու հետ փոխանակվեն մտքերով, գաղափարներով, փորձելով բացահայտել իրական հնարավորությունները, սահմանները կամ իրականում անսահմանությունը նոր տեխնոլոգիաների։ Մենք, ինչպես նաև ամբողջ աշխարհը վերջին տարիներին նամանավանդ, գրեթե ամեն օր խոսում ենք արհեստական բանականության մասին, եւ որքան շատանում են այդ խոսակցությունները, երկու հիմնական էմոցիա է առաջանում համամարտկային մտքում։ Ոգևորություն, էնտուզիազմ մի կողմից եւ վախեր, մտահոգություններ մյուս կողմից։ Եվ իսկապես արհեստական բանականությունը, որ ստեղծված է մարդկային մտքի թռիչքի շնորհիվ, ճշմարիտ հարցադրում է բարձրացնում, արդյոք այն գալիս է ծառայելու հանուն մարդկության, երկիր մոլորակի բարօրության, թե ծառայեցնելու մարդկությանը եւ երկիր մոլորակին հենց այս տեխնոլոգիաներին։ Այս քննարկումները անդադար են, անվերջ են, աշխարհի գրեթե բոլոր տեխնոլոգիական միջազգային պլատֆորմների համար մեկ քննարկվող թեման է, որովհետև մենք բոլորս մարդիկ փորձում ենք գտնել այս հարցի պատասխանը, ինչպես անել, որ ծառայեցնեն այս տեխնոլոգիան հանուն մարդկության բարօրության եւ այս 3 օրերի ընթացքում ըստ էության այս գիծը, այս նուրբ թելը անընդհատ լինելու է քննարկվող թեմաների շրջանակում։ Արդյոք ինչպես պետք է անենք, որ արհեստական բանականությունը, որ այսօր արդեն իսկ լրջագույն խնդիրներ է գալիս լուծելու առողջապահության ոլորտում սկսած դեռևս վաղ շրջանում քաղցկեղի հայտնաբերման եւ ճշգրիտ խնդիրների լուծման հասցեագրմամբ, մինչև տարատեսակ հիվանդությունների կանխորոշում եւ ճիշտ ուղղորդում դրանց բուժման համար։ Կրթության ոլորտում ինչ մեծածավալ լրջագույն ինովացիոն լուծումներ է առաջարկում նախադպրոցական մակարդակից մինչև գիտություն, գիտահետազոտական եւ արտադրական պրոցեսներ։ Տնտեսության արդյունաբերության ոլորտում, շրջակա միջավայրի պաշտպանության ոլորտում, այն բոլոր հնարավորությունները, որ արհեստական բանականությունը գալիս է առաջարկելու մարդկությանը։ Բայց մեդալյոնի հակառակ կողմում այն վախերը, որոնք իրականում առկա են, դրանք բնական են, որովհետև արհեստական բանականությունը նաև կարող է բուժել, օգնել միլիոնների, բայց սխալ կիրառման պարագայում դադարեցնել կյանքեր, եթե այն կօգտագործվի ռազմական նպատակներով եւ կարող է լրջագույն ազդեցություն ունենալ միջավայրերի էկոհամակարգերի վրա, մարդկային անձնական տվյալների տարատեսակ անվտանգային, կիբերանվտանգային ռիսկեր ստեղծելով եւ սրանք գալիս են առաջացնելու այդ մտահոգությունները եւ վախերը մեր մտքում եւ մեր սրտում։ Սակայն Հայաստանը արդեն վաղուց կայացրել է իր որոշումը, Հայաստանը գնում է կենտրոնացնելու իր ռեսուրսները արհեստական բանականության եւ նորարար տեխնոլոգիաների զարգացման ոլորտում, որովհետեւ հաստատակամ է իր այն ընտրության մեջ, որ ինքն է դառնալու սեփականատերը իր իսկ ստեղծած այս տեխնոլոգիաների հանուն մեր միջավայրի բարեկեցության, հանուն մոլորակի եւ մարդկության բարեկեցության եւ առաջարկում է համախմբվել այս օրակարգի շուրջ, առաջարկում է կառավարել իր իսկ մտքի ուժի միջոցով ստեղծված այս տեխնոլոգիան եւ այս 3 օրերի ընթացքում այս գաղափարն է, որ մենք հուսով ենք, որ մեզ բոլորիս թե այստեղ հավաքված եւ թե մեզ on-line ձևաչափով հետևող բոլոր մարդկանց համախմբելու է։ Ես եւս մեկ անգամ ողջունում եմ բոլորիդ մեր երկրում եւ բարի ընթացք, բարի երթ եմ մաղթում WCIT 2024-ին։ Շնորհակալություն։
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your best wishes. Best wishes to Armenia on its journey to becoming the center of AI worldwide. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Alexander Yesayan, Chairman of the Board of the Union of Armenian Technology Enterprises.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, welcome to Armenia. It is both an honor and a privilege to have you here today at World Congress of IT 2024 Digitec. We are here to foster collaboration, exchange of ideas, and drive meaningful change through this 3 days event. Thank you for joining us. Your engagement and participation is vital, and together we can make a significant impact. We are gathered here today to discuss the future of humanity, of technology, of the generations to come, and of course the future of artificial intelligence. Just yesterday we witnessed AI engaging with us, sharing humor from the stage, but with great power comes, of course, great responsibility. As we embrace this extraordinary technology, we must also reflect on the ethical implications of our advancements, ensuring that AI serves the greater good and safeguard our values. In our discussion about artificial intelligence and its implementation, we are not only raising awareness, but also creating new platforms for this advancement and evolution, especially here at WCIT and events like this. Together we, of course, have the opportunity to shape the future of AI, and this navigating its complexities and with foresight and integrity. In the framework of WCIT 2024, we have set up a startup-related lots of events, of course, which mostly enlarge possibilities of cooperation and as well, I hope, investments. I remember from 2019, when we held WCIT, it took us 5 years from there to now that we see a lot of cooperations happened. And the same I expect after this event. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our partners who made this event possible with their unwavering support and contributions. Fastex, Fastbank team, Yandex, our invaluable information partners, and of course all our contributors. Your commitment have been instrumental in bringing us together. A special thanks also goes to the board of World Information Technology and Services Alliance for believing in Armenia and granting us honor for hosting the WCIT Congress for the second time. As we embark on this journey over the next 3 days, let's fill our time with innovation. The lineup of content and speakers is truly remarkable, and I'm excited to see where our conversation will lead us. WCIT promises to be very transformative and inspiring, and I'm sure we will see its impact on Armenia for years to come. Thank you very much, and let's have a great evening. Great day. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Well, we've got so many speakers, as you can tell. We're going to have to get through them all today. So the next speaker is Dr. Seah, who is board chairman of WITSA, the World Information Technology and Services Alliance.
Good morning, everyone. His Excellencies Mkhitar Hayrapetyan, the Minister of High Technology, Armenia, distinguished guests, delegates, honored sponsors, esteemed guests, friends of WCIT, my board members, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's good to be back. This is after 5 years since 2019. Again, happy to see most of you and also some of the friendly faces. Again, it is a great excitement and pride that we come back together to Armenia in Yerevan this morning. A city that holds a special place in the history of WCIT WCIT, as this marks a second time for Armenia to play the host of this prestigious global tech platform, the World Congress on Innovations and Technology. Armenia's rise as a dynamic tech hub makes it an ideal location for this year's Congress. The WCIT 2024 offers an unparalleled opportunity for global tech leaders to explore the advancement in AI and other frontier technology that we are shaping the future of our world and our lives. By bringing together the brightest mind, we are fostering collaborations that will drive meaningful innovations in the years to come. My heartfelt congratulations to Mr. Alex Yesayan, the team from the Union Advanced Technology Enterprises, UATE, and His Excellencies, the Minister of High Technology, Armenia, for the incredible job well done in organizing this yet another very successful WCIT 2024 that promises to be an unforgettable experience. Before we embark on this exciting journey in the next 3 days, I would like to share that WCIT just had concluded our General Assembly yesterday, and I'm honored to be elected to serve as the WCIT chairman for the term of 2025 and 2026, alongside with all the new elected board members. Let me introduce to you some of the board members who are here present with us today. I have Tarek from Tarek, Nidar, Alex Mora, Alberto Petron, Tarek Fakro, Rashid, Ivy Cheng, Yota, and Alexander, of course, are the hosts today. And I also want to congratulate, my CEO, Dan Yiku, for putting up such an interesting program together with the Armenian team. I'm also delighted to extend a warm welcome to all the participants, speakers, sponsors, and special guests joining us from across the globe. A special welcome to our guests from Romania, Bahrain, from Taiwan, Nepal, Costa Rica, Egypt, Spain, Malaysia, and all over the world, Those present enrich the global event. Your participation is a testament to the spirit of international collaboration that defines WCIT and strengthens our global tech ecosystem. At WCIT 2024, we are diving deep into the future of AI, with AI being the key focal technology discussion in the coming days. AI is transforming industries, societies, economies, and this year's agenda will explore the multifaceted role of AI alongside with other vital topics: cybersecurity, business transformation, the evolutions of marketing, and others. In conjunction with WCIT 2024, WCIT is proud to launch the WCIT World Cup Global Finals, starting today till next Monday, with the best scale-up from 6 continents, competing for the Zohari Challenge Trophy. Here I would like to record my highest appreciations to the Sarawak government, especially Sarawak Digital Economy Corp, as the principal partner for the WCIT World Cup Championship, carry the name of the trophy called Zohari Challenge Trophy. The big unveil is a special sessions we plan to have on Monday afternoon. This is the launch of the WCIT Global AI Ecosystem Network, okay, a transformative global initiative that connects AI ecosystem across 6 continents, fostering collaborations, innovations, and growth in artificial intelligence. Our goal is to develop a global AI ecosystem network that fosters collaborations and knowledge sharing among participating members' economies. We believe this ecosystem network will strengthen AI capabilities and ecosystem across participating network by facilitating research, skill development, talent development, policy guidance, and investment. The WCIT Global Ecosystem Network aims to create dynamic, decentralized network and enables knowledge sharing, partnership formation, and resource pooling among governments, industries, academia, and community worldwide. By leveraging regional presence and facilitating cross-border collaborations, that's what WCIT is all about. We represent 80 economies and countries in the world. The WCIT Global AI Ecosystem Network accelerates the adoptions of AI technologies, promotes AI inclusivity, and drives sustainability economy development. Hence, it is more appropriate that we also present the WCIT AI position paper entitled The WCIT Global AI Ecosystem Network, Building a Sustainable Growth in the Tech Industry. This paper states clear objectives that are pivoting to understand the fundamental growth and the guidelines to discourse surrounding the advancement of AI ecosystem. As the tech industry rapidly evolves, this document aims to articulate a clear vision on how AI can be harnessed to foster sustainable growth. For tech industry executives, C-suite leaders, and policymakers alike, this position paper serves as a strategic framework that outlines the essential principles and priorities necessary for building a robust AI ecosystem. We are extremely excited and delighted to share most of this in Monday afternoon, and we would like to invite all of you to be part of these significant sessions. In closing, as we embark on this journey together, I encourage all of you to immerse yourself in the rich exchange of ideas, insight, and experiences. I hope you enjoy not only the incredible discussion sessions that awaits, but also the warm hospitality, culture, beauty of the city of Yerevan, Armenia, and the people of Armenia. Wishing everybody an exciting 3 days Congress and an unforgettable Armenian experience. Thank you very much. Have a very wonderful WCIT 2024.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seah. We're so glad you're with us today. And I want to echo his words about Armenian wine and food. Oh my God, it is delicious. I could die. I've died and gone to heaven, everyone. Absolutely. Listen, we're now going to be joined with a fascinating conversation with Mr. Rev Lebaredyan, who's Vice President of Omniverse and Simulation Technology at NVIDIA. Now, if you want to talk about AI, who has not heard of NVIDIA at this point in time? He's going to share his insights on the next wave of AI, its applications in industry and technology, with a particular focus on innovating semiconductor design with AI. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming to Armenia and to watch me speak in this particular presentation. At this point, maybe everybody here has heard about NVIDIA, or at least most of you have. That wasn't true a few years ago. I think most people in this room probably wouldn't have heard of us. But this little thing called AI has apparently become interesting to many others. You can see with all of the presentations, even up till this point, the word AI is being thrown around a lot. I thought I'd start off by first telling you a little bit about NVIDIA and why it is that we are in this particular moment in time with AI. NVIDIA's actually, in the tech industry, not a particularly new company. We've been around for 3 decades or so. The computing industry, computers, have been around for decades longer than that. Since the 60s, we've essentially had a dominant form of computing, a particular architecture that we used across many, many applications. This type of computing was built around a particular processor called a CPU. And the innovation, the increases in capabilities that we experienced, the exponential gains in power, were due to something called Moore's Law. Moore's Law is actually not a law like a physics law. It was an observation that was made in the 60s and 70s that every 5 years we get about 10 times the amount of computing power given every dollar you put in or every bit of energy that you put in. Every 10 years, that ends up being 100 times more power. This fueled the industry for decades. And it was great because we could essentially design software for very simplistic software, even be lazy about it, about how we write the software, and write it for one computer today, and without doing anything, 5 years later, it performs 10 times better. This started to end a few decades ago. It started to slow down. We also had many problems, computing problems, that a normal computer couldn't solve. These problems tend to be ones that require a lot of compute when we're doing things like physics simulation. NVIDIA was born around this time, when Moore's Law was slowing down, and we noticed that there are some problems you can't solve with a normal computer, so we started designing a different kind of computer. We call it accelerated computing. The heart of this type of computing is a processor. We call it GPU. And what you can see here, essentially on the left, we have the blue line, which is the amount of processing power we got with CPUs over time. And you can see it's slowing down. But the amount of data we have to process is still increasing exponentially. So this is a crisis problem. On the left side, we have the same curves, but there's a green line. And that green line is essentially the processing power, the computing capabilities this new kind of computing provides. GPUs, because of the way they're designed, along with the software and the applications, we get super Moore's Law scaling. In the last 10 years, we increased the amount of compute for AI by a factor of 1 million. That's compared to the Moore's Law when it was actually working at its best. We only got 100. So it's 10,000 times more computing power. And because of that, we now have the capability of processing so much data. We can create these supercomputers that create these large models that are doing amazing things we couldn't have predicted would be possible times. In this next slide here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the architecture of our company. Essentially, the secret as to why we have become successful. To most of you, it seems like NVIDIA came out of nowhere, even though we've been around for 30-something years. You can look at our stock price and market capitalization over this period of time. It was flat for many years. The reason why it was flat is because this kind of computing we invented is very, very difficult. Accelerated computing, building computers, and all of the software necessary to take advantage of all this computing power requires a deep understanding of the computer science and the domains in which we are applying these problems to. And that kind of work nobody wanted to do while Moore's Law was still working. But we went to work expecting Moore's Law to end. And what we did was we created one architecture for this future. That's that thick green line here at the bottom. And all of the chips that we create, the semiconductors, are built around this one architecture. But it's not enough to just build the chips. We also build all of the systems, the whole data centers that act as one computer, as supercomputers. all of the software to make it work as one computer. That's another layer above that. And then above that layer, we have what's called the CUDA X libraries. These are all of the special algorithms that you need in these in the various domains that hadn't been invented yet for this kind of architecture. We go through the problem of making these algorithms, of doing the basic research, and we encode them into libraries and make them to any application developers. At the top is the actual applications. These are developed by other people, not us. But they're the ones that leverage all of the computing power, our capabilities in this stack. With those applications, once those applications exist, there's demand for the computing power. So at the bottom, you see the different ways in which you can access this compute. They can be in your data centers, they can be in the public cloud, or they can be in the edge. They can be inside robots, inside cars, in your workstation. And a flywheel starts to form. Now, at the beginning, when we started with this, the applications didn't exist, and the computers weren't out there with the install base. So we had to solve this chicken or egg problem. But eventually, we broke through with it. We created enough of an install base and attracted enough developers with our stack, a lot of times being deep domain experts ourselves, which created more demand, and we created more install base. And when there's install base, new application developers figure out that there's a market that they can go address. About 10 years ago, 12 years ago, everything changed. For all of computing history, we had written software in this one particular way. We would have a really smart person, a computer scientist or somebody who understands how a computer works, take an idea, translate it into an algorithm, type it into a text editor, compile it, and create an executable and run it. These softwares that we created were largely tools that assist humans in their day-to-day things. Software was all about creating particular tools for humans, and they're largely about dealing with data that just exists out there. They're in databases or on the internet, and you go access it somehow. It's about retrieval of that data. For this, CPUs and very general purpose style of computers were fine. They work okay for that. But what happened in 2012 was essentially the big bang of AI. AlexNet, in the ImageNet competition, essentially showed us that it's now possible to potentially solve some computer science challenges that most of us had thought would never be solved. And that was image classification at that point, something we take for granted 10 years later. But for most of my life, we all thought that that would never be solved. Now, what was interesting about that moment was how this new software was written, how this algorithm was developed. We didn't do it the old way. It wasn't with humans actually thinking about what the instructions for the computer should be. Instead, we took a computer and we gave it a whole bunch of examples. We said, this is the output we want from you. This is what we want you to do. And it figured out the algorithm. And it did that by using a lot of compute power, by having essentially a computer write the software or figure out what the equation was, given all of those examples, all the data that we put into it. You fast forward years later, and we introduced more and more advanced models, and we got to transformers, large language models. And 2 years ago, ChatGPT showed the world that the capabilities we already have are profound. And so now here we are, we're all talking about AI all of the time, but all of that was built on top of this foundation that took decades for us to get to. Today, building software is not about building tools, it's about building skills. These AIs essentially are very skilled, much like how a human or some creature might be in a particular thing. And that essentially changes the dynamics of everything, including the business and its implications to economies and mankind. What we're about to go through is a new industrial revolution, maybe the fourth industrial revolution. The AIs we're building today, these large language models, they're trained on all of the data that's available to us that's already digital. That's the way it creates these equations. We feed it a bunch of data that we scrape from the internet. Largely, this is information about human thought, abstract thought. Things like textbooks, Wikipedia, articles, so on and so forth. And what we get out of that is some pretty amazing stuff. We get these large language models that seemingly can reason and do great things. But if you look at it in terms of the size of the economies of the things you can do with these AIs, things that are information, or the realm of information of ones and zeros, that's largely an industry at maximum that's maybe $5 trillion globally. That's all of computing, that's all of information technology, which is a pretty big number, but it's nowhere near as big as all the other industries combined, which aren't dealing with ones and zeros, they're dealing with atoms. The world of atoms, the actual physical world around us, and the challenges it poses is far more valuable than the world of ones and zeros. Largely, computing hasn't touched this world. It hasn't touched it much. But we're at a moment where, because we've unlocked this capability of creating skills, of creating intelligence, we can start applying computing to the world of atoms, to the physical world. We call this physical AI. This is the next wave of AI. The current one that we're in is largely about the abstract world, things we already have on the internet, things that are already digital. But the next one is going to be about the world around us, creating AIs that can understand the things that we see, things that we experience in the world around us. They can reason about it, and they can act upon it. Essentially, this is robots. So with that, I'm going to play a video where our CEO, Jensen Huang, who most of you have probably already heard of, will narrate for a few minutes and eloquently explain some of these concepts that I'll dig into a little bit deeper after.
The era of robotics has arrived. One day, everything that moves will be autonomous. Researchers and companies around the world are developing robots powered by physical AI. Physical AIs are models that can understand instructions and autonomously perform complex tasks in the real world. Multimodal LLMs are breakthroughs that enable robots to learn, perceive, and understand the world around them and plan how they'll act. And from human demonstrations, robots can now learn the skills required to interact with the world using gross and fine motor skills. One of the integral technologies for advancing robotics is reinforcement learning. Just as LLMs need RLHF, or reinforcement learning from human feedback, to learn particular skills, generative physical AI can learn skills using reinforcement learning from physics feedback in a simulated world. These simulation environments are where robots learn to make decisions by performing actions in a virtual world that obeys the laws of physics. In these robot gyms, a robot can learn to perform complex and dynamic tasks safely and quickly, refining their skills through millions of acts of trial and error. We built NVIDIA Omniverse as the operating system where physical AIs can be created. Omniverse is a development platform for virtual world simulation, combining real-time, physically based rendering, physics simulation, and generative AI technologies. In Omniverse, robots can learn how to be robots. They learn how to autonomously manipulate objects with precision, such as grasping and handling objects, or navigate environments autonomously, finding optimal paths while avoiding obstacles and hazards. Learning in Omniverse minimizes the sim-to-real gap and maximizes the transfer of learned behavior. Building robots with generative physical AI requires 3 computers: NVIDIA AI supercomputers to train the models, NVIDIA Jetson Orin and next-generation Jetson Thor robotic supercomputer software to run the models. And NVIDIA Omniverse, where robots can learn and refine their skills in simulated worlds. We build the platforms, acceleration libraries, and AI models needed by developers and companies, and allow them to use any or all of the stacks that suit them best. The next wave of AI is here. Robotics, powered by physical AI, will revolutionize industries.
So you just saw a lot of really cool examples of things robots can do or might be able to do, and how we're creating. But the first question is, what is a robot? I think for most people, when you think of a robot, you think of things we've seen in science fiction, maybe Star Wars, C-3PO, R2-D2, these kinds of things. And those are robots, but actually robotics and robotic systems can be far greater than that, far more expansive. The way we look at robots, actually most people look at robots, roboticists in particular, is that robotic systems are ones where you have perception, you have the ability for the robot to see or experience the world around that and gain information about it. It has some ability to make decisions, to reason about what it's seeing, make a plan and go start execution on that, and the ability to act on the world. In some of these systems, and the more advanced ones we're going to start building, these same robots have the ability to learn, so they can get better and better as they experience the world more, as they do experiments within that world. By this definition, there are many things around us that are potential robots that we don't normally think of as robots. Certainly, self-driving cars. Your car has a computer inside it. There are sensors. It can, with cameras, radars, LiDARs, be able to understand a little bit about its surroundings. The more intelligent cars, like some of the Teslas today, can reason about what they're seeing and actually control the car, actuate, tell it to brake and steer and accelerate. So self-driving cars are robots. We have other types of robots we see in factories and warehouses that are arms that pick and place things. But there's some other things that are non-obvious that might be a robot. Buildings can be robots. The building that I sit in at NVIDIA in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley, every day when I walk into the main reception area, we have these turnstiles. There's a camera there, and the building can see me, and it makes a decision on whether it's going to actually let me pass through or not, and it'll actuate. It'll open the doors for me or not. So in that sense, it's a robot, and you can imagine it becoming more and more advanced, controlling the climate, enacting other robots to clean areas of the building that are more trafficked, and so on. Cities themselves can become robots. You can have sensors throughout the city watching traffic patterns, watching pedestrians and situations, and causing action. Robots watching other robots. These robotic systems are essentially how we're going to take the power of AI out into the real world, and this is the key to doing it. We need to build all of these capabilities of perception, reasoning, and actuation. In order to build these robots, we need not just one computer, but multiple computers. Generally, when we think about a robot, most people, and what computer is involved there, the focus starts to go to the computer that's inside the robot, the one that's actually powering it when you're using it. There's a computer inside your car, inside your Tesla, inside any car that's making some intelligent kind of decisions in there. But that's actually the last computer. The computer that's running the brain of the robot has to first actually get the brain from somewhere. That brain, in the new model with AI, is created on another computer called the AI computer. These are all the GPUs everybody is hearing about that NVIDIA sells and everybody needs that are inside these AI factories. These are DGX computers. But there's a third computer that's also very important. In order to create such a brain in this new model of software development, we need a way to feed life experience, data, into the factory that's producing the brain about the real world. We need to collect information about how the world looks and behaves, and what happens when you go experiment in that world. And unfortunately, we can't collect enough of that information from the real world and label it by hand. We need to use simulation. We need to simulate these worlds and make them physically accurate so that we can build the brains of these future robots. And before deploying them out into the real world, we want to make sure that these robots are good robots. We don't want them driving badly and harming us. We don't want them operating heavy machinery inside our factories. And so we have to test them somewhere. And the place we're going to test them is also in a computer. It's in the simulation computer. So these are the three computers that form the basis of robotics, physical AI. We need the computer that is inside the robot, that is essentially the brain of the robot or runs the brain. We need the computer that trains or learns and produces the brain. And we need a whole other computer that simulates the world, that's the training ground and the testing ground for these robots. Now, I said earlier that robots can be all kinds of things. They come in all shapes and sizes. They can even be buildings. But you probably think of something that's like C-3PO, a humanoid. So you may think, well, that's just science fiction. That's going to be a long time till it comes. We actually believe that humanoids are coming now, and that's actually probably the most important robotics form factor that we can all work on. The reason for this is that all of the spaces that we create, are generally built for humans. When you need a robot to help you in your work, maybe stocking shelves inside a store or operating within a warehouse, that space was probably already built for humans to go work in there. So it kind of makes sense to have robots that are shaped like humans, that have the same height and have the ability to navigate around the same spaces. Another reason why humanoids are important is the data problem. We need to train these robots somehow, give them examples, have them learn, show them what we want them to do. And we don't have that many examples of different kinds of robots that have 7 arms and 20 legs and these different form factors doing things. But we have a lot of examples of humans doing things. We have lots of video on the internet. We have the ability to create such video and just show as an example to a robot what to do by demonstrating it ourselves, and they can imitate us. And so if we're going to bring robotics into the real world and make it ubiquitous, make it common everywhere, and make them useful, they have to be humanoid or humanoid-like. The problem is that humanoids are extremely difficult to create. There's a whole bunch of problems. These are a few of them listed here. We need them to have great perception, great cognition. They need to be dexterous. They need to be able to handle things with their hands like we do with our fingers and use tools. We need them to balance, to be able to stand and to be able to walk. We need them to figure out how to navigate around spaces, how to walk upstairs. And most importantly, we need them to be safe. We don't want to have robots that when there's a bug or some failure or something happens within it, it harms us. Each one of these problems by themselves has been decades-long challenges in computer science for as long as I've been alive. But it's only recently, because of these advances in AI and computing, we actually see a line of sight to solving all of them. And we're getting very, very close to doing it. And so you can see there's a lot of robotics companies that have emerged now that are producing humanoids. We could have done it a long time ago in terms of the physical elements of a robot. We had the mechanical engineering and electrical and other materials. Well, we had enough of that so we could build one. But there was no point in building these humanoids 10 years ago because we couldn't build a brain to put inside that robot and make it do something useful. But now we have the ability to make a brain that can do something useful, and the humanoids are coming. I believe that they are going to become so common, it'll be like our cell phones. They're going to get cheaper and cheaper very, very quickly. Today they're on the order of tens of thousands of dollars, $50,000 or so, but there's no reason why the natural limit to what the cost of one of these should be no more than essentially what the robot weighs, what the physical materials in it are. And that is a tiny fraction of what an advanced car costs these days. Maybe it'll be a few $1,000s. In order to create these robots, you saw a whole bunch of examples of things that we have to do inside the video I just played. To reiterate some of those, we need them to be able to learn. We need to give them spaces, safe spaces, which is essentially simulation, a virtual world, where they can go practice and go do many things, just like our children, our babies. When they're born into this world, they don't know how to do things like stand and walk and pick up objects and not drop them and break things. They do experiments. They do physics experiments over and over again until they get better. Well, they're doing this inside simulation, inside these supercomputers. We can also make demonstrations for them. We can show them, this is how I would like you to do that. And because they have these amazing perception abilities we're starting to give them through AI, they can interpret what we're doing and map that to their own forms. And with teleoperation, we can kind of have a hybrid approach as well, where instead of the robot completely doing something on its own, we can control the robot, but from a distance. You could be all the way around the world with very high latency connection to the robot, but you can see what the robot is seeing just like we do today on a video conference call and make some actions, things that you want to do inside that world. That sends the intention over to the robot, and the robot, through its advanced AI, figures out how to map your intention into an action inside that world autonomously. For this, we need all three computers, and you can see that in the diagram here where they all fit. With that, I'd like to close off a little bit about Armenia. I'm happy to say NVIDIA has an office here, which is primarily an engineering technical office. We formed it 2.5 years ago or so. I was fortunate enough to be the one who helped build it over here, along with help from many people in this room, particularly within the government, who gave us all the support we needed to open it up very quickly in that particular time. I'm Armenian. I've been Armenian my whole life, even though I wasn't born in Armenia. I was born in the United States. Because of an accident of history, I ended up being born in the United States instead of being born here where I likely would have been. But that's okay. I found my way back over here. My dream has always been to see Armenia prosper and be a place where Armenians forever can enjoy prosperity and safety. And in order for that to happen, we need to have economic prosperity inside this country. And I think the only way we're going to get there, the only possible way to do that, is through our only natural resource, which is the amazing capabilities of the brains of all of the Armenians inside this country. Fortunately, we have a long history and tradition of love for education, for the sciences, for the creative arts. And we have a large diaspora who also participates in these things. And so the combination of that, I think, makes the right conditions for Armenia to become a special place to advance important areas of the sciences, computer science, and computing. If we want Armenia to prosper, it needs to be a place where we are creating technology. And the most important technology today and in the future is artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is very, very broad. There's many things we can do with it. It's essentially unlimited in its generality. Armenia is not a big country. We don't have that many people. And so the only thing we can do with this is essentially go deep, but in a very focused areas. So I'd like to end this off by saying, please think about where we can pool our resources, go focus on certain areas of technology and AI, listen to all of the things that are being presented here, all the ideas in all the different domains and fields, but gather our resources so that we can get maximal leverage in advancing and being world-class in specific fields of AI. I believe that the most important place we can do this is in the physical world, the mapping of AI into the physical world through robotics. But within that, there's so many problems to solve. I think we can go pick a few verticals that we could be deep in. It all starts with education. We need an educated populace here who is deeply knowledgeable in these areas. And it starts not just in the universities, but in elementary school and high school. Fortunately, there are so many great organizations here and so many advancements we've made in education in the last 10, 15 years or so. I list some of the names of the organizations that NVIDIA works with, and we're proud to work with them to enhance or bring these capabilities and understandings to young people in Armenia. And with that, I think I will end it. Thank you.
Now, this is our first fireside chat today about choosing impossible missions and the use of AI in revolutionizing medicine discovery. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Nubar Afeyan, a founder at Flagship Pioneering and co-founder of Moderna. Mr. Garo Armen, chairman and CEO at Agenus. And our moderator, all the way from across the shores, is Mr. Richard Quest, the world's renowned British journalist and television presenter. Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. No, this is not a presidential debate, but we can still shake hands. Right. There is only one rule for our next discussion, gentlemen, that I ask for your indulgence. And that is, please do not spend too long telling me how magnificent AI is. Should we go now? I happen to think, I mean, looking at I was here, look, beyond limits within ethics. Now, the beauty of this debate and this discussion is you all know the subject. And frankly, if you've bothered to turn up here, so if we waste too much time with you extolling its virtues, now that does not mean to say you can't tell me about the limitless possibilities within the areas. But we start from a basis of AI is here, it's going to get bigger, it's going to get more significant, and we're going to have to live with it, use it, and adapt ourselves. Do you agree, gentlemen?
Wholeheartedly.
Good. In which case, I'm going to invite, which of you is going to speak first?
What would you like me to say, Richard?
You've got.
I'm not going to talk about AI for certain.
You've got, as long as you've got 4 or 5 minutes just to give us a framework from which we can then discuss and debate. You can sit, you can stand over there, you can walk, whatever you're comfortable.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, everybody. I was first introduced to AI just about 2 years ago, and I was amazed because it was a virtual servant. It was able to process things rapidly. It had access to a lot of information. And as compared to the internet or Google or other search engines, it was able to process things more intelligently. But it's certainly not perfect. And so it's nothing other than a tool today. And I know that there's a lot of concern about replacing humanity. I hope that will not happen. Nubar can talk about it. But if it happens, it'll be very sad. Now, in terms of what I do, as an introduction, at least for the last 25 years, I have dedicated my life to solving problems. And to the extent that AI can help us do that a little bit more proficiently, why not? My mother died of cancer at the age of 47, and I've been obsessed with curing cancer. And at least for the last 25 years, that's been the mission of my company. And curing cancer is, of course, is an abstract concept, but my ambition has been using the immune system, which is the natural system of the body that defends itself. Nubar will talk about immune system in the context of prevention, which has been remarkable in the last few years. And my mission has been using the immune system in treating disease, like cancer, for example. Now, the second area of my interest has been solving problems in Armenia. Armenia is a country that has been subjected to a series of very misfortunate steps, starting with, of course, the unraveling of the Soviet Union. Armenia found itself isolated without any resources. So when Alice and I went to the villages of Armenia, we decided to do something about it. And that something about it has grown to an organization of about 200 people on the ground. So those are the kinds of things that are of great interest. But I'll pass it on to Nubar to talk about his level of accomplishments and interest.
Well, thanks for having me, everybody. There's so much to talk about, and so we're not going to extol the virtues of AI. But I will say that all of us interact with AI and think it started when we learned about it. And some of us who are kind of on the older side have been exposed to what used to be called artificial intelligence at a very, very early stage. So in 1980 is the first time I was exposed to what used to be called expert systems, which then became symbolic logic, which then became all sorts of machine learning techniques. Expert systems back then were being used to try to diagnose diseases. This is 1980s, 70s. And over time, the better computing has gotten, as Rev was saying, the more people tried to do, were trying to emulate human behavior, human thought, and it was largely a very complex thing. But there were certain tasks that you could already see computers would be able to do. Whether to rely on them or not is a different story. And throughout the biotechnology field, which is where I have worked for the last 40 years, because of the amount of data that we were able to get of genome sequences and health records, et cetera, the need for models for the data that humans could not understand because there isn't a simple equation that, like in physics, that could actually capture universal truths. In biology, you needed to build mathematical models. And all of the early models came out of the field of machine learning, which is basically a sister and area to AI. And machine learning has been developed massively to allow what we now do in biotechnology. So that part wasn't that new. More recently, where we saw some of these games and human activities being emulated and actually superseded by learning models, which then gave way to large language models and many other things, diffusion models. What I've become quite fascinated with, and it's a big part of what we do and my firm does now, is figuring out how models that are machine models, computing models, and human models, which is what our brain basically does, it just models reality and then uses it to extrapolate, can fuse and can do more than what humans alone can do. This has been going on for a long time, but it is definitely accelerating. So in a nutshell, I'll say I founded and run a firm called Flagship Pioneering, which is about 24 years old now. We start as our output new companies in the fields of health and sustainability. We apply technology with science to create major breakthroughs, and then we create companies that make products from them. Over the last 6 years, many of our companies, and currently all of our companies, that is 48 of them, are all predicated on either the adoption of AI or are entirely predicated on AI. Let me give one small example. 6 years ago, we began to wonder whether we could actually predict the function of a protein only by looking at its DNA. So you know in biology, you learn that in the kind of law of biology is that information processing law, that is, goes from DNA that then gets copied into RNA. RNA is the instruction for proteins, and proteins do most of the function by which we operate, cells operate. And so the question we asked ourselves is, can we train algorithms with enough examples of a protein and a function and a corresponding DNA that could learn what it is about a protein that is encoded in the DNA without knowing anything more about what an RNA is or how proteins fold and all the wonderful folding algorithms that exist? Forget all that. Just go from protein function back to DNA. And this was an open-ended question. We had no idea. What we could do then for the first time is to just feed a lot of data and ask these algorithms to learn what might be a hidden code that creates correspondence between protein function and DNA. What we learned several years later, 2-3 years later, and what we've published since, is in fact that there is a way to be able to design a completely new protein of arbitrary function just by specifying DNA sequence. I give that example because that same thing is going to be possible to design pathways, to design cells, to design all sorts of new biology based on data-driven models. And I'll say one last thing. I didn't know that Richard was going to be our moderator when I came here, but I do want to say what I say in other settings, except not with the accidental correlation with his last name. Humans, for as long as we've existed, have had one single quest, and that is the quest for knowledge. AI is singularly the most disruptive technology to augment that quest. I view AI as augmented imagination. We have a reasoning skills, we have memory to recollect things, and then we have imagination to create new things or to envision new things. To my knowledge, for the 40 professional years I've been working broadly in innovation, nothing comes close to augmenting our imagination, therefore our creativity, therefore the potential of our impact for good or for bad, as the minister mentioned, as much as AI. I'll stop with that.
Bearing in mind that, how quickly is this tsunami of AI coming upon us? And taking the example you've just given and what you were saying, it is appearing in many different ways that you don't necessarily immediately say, oh, that's AI. It is now so deeply embedded in just about everything that you're doing.
You know, I think generally when we see a new capability, we always overestimate how quickly it'll have impact. So it always takes longer. But then when it always happens quicker than we expected. And I think this will be the same. There is clearly a current cycle of disappointment because AI was what people call hyped. It's actually, they were hyped by it because they wanted to believe that it's going to do all these magical things. So now we're in this period where people are expressing disappointment. But the reality is, like search engines, like the use of internet and e-commerce, it kind of happens after we expected. But then when it happens, it's overwhelming. And I think that's the cycle that we're going to relive.
Of course, I mean, anytime there is a new concept, a new tool introduced, there's always anxiety, criticism. Can the bad use AI to accentuate itself? The answer is yes. But can the good overwhelm that? Well, it depends on the numbers game.
Right, but let's go straight to that. The problem is everybody in this room is playing by the rules up to a certain point.
Right.
And that's not the real worry, because we can have all this ethical stuff which tinkers at the edge of, no killer robots, no pathogens created, blah, blah, blah. But you are not the people we're worried about. So how do you frame a regime for ethical issues when the very people who you're trying to frame it against aren't at the table?
Well, look, I think that those rules are not going to apply to people who are not at the table. We have to have simultaneously the ability to out-imagine the bad people can do in order to protect ourselves against it.
Is that realistic?
It is realistic, and I think we have to do it till the end. I'll give you an example. Right after 9/11, I know for a fact that basically the intelligence services wanted to know in the US what are all the biological weapons that could be designed very quickly when anthrax happened. And a lot of us scientists had to actually apply our imagination to pretty nasty things so they could prepare themselves. They cannot go ask the evil people, tell us what you're working on so we could defend ourselves. So you kind of have to go there. And I think you have to do the same with AI. Even in Rev's imagination, you have to imagine robots gone bad. The best people to imagine that are the people who are doing robots gone good. under protected environments so we could protect ourselves. So I think, look, ethics to me...
Well, hang on. That's a horse is out the stable argument, isn't it? That is
Yes,
basically
it
saying
is.
the horse is going to run, so we better work out a way to catch it after it's gone, rather than saying don't let it out the stable in the first place. Is that unrealistic?
Well, I think regulation isn't the answer to the question that you asked. Of course, you know, there has to be some regulation, but not regulation that inhibits progress. AI is just a way of speeding up an evolutionary process. Now, biological evolution happens slowly, and the tests that go into the biological evolution, the checks and balances, can be sped up with AI, but not just in the biological sense, but in every sense possible. It is a tug of war, as you said, Richard, between good and evil. We don't want to get too romantic about it, but it's a tug of war. And the question is, each will have AI as they have had other facilities at their disposal, but can the good overwhelm the evil? And the answer, I hope, is yes.
Yeah, look, I think a good example we just lived through, which I also have experience in, is what happened with the pandemic virus.
Yes.
You know, we think in humans that humans are doing the most evil to us. Natural infections agents are doing much more evil than any human has done. There's tens of millions of people dying from conditions that are being evolved against us in nature. And our defense is our immune system. So if we don't apply ourselves, the horse is out of the barn anyway for natural threats. Computer-generated threats are just augmentation of that. We have to protect ourselves against all of these things, including the effect of AI.
Well, if we take as an example of this nuclear proliferation and nuclear arms, and the variety of treaties that have been passed, some more successful than others, but you're still left with, you know, at a national stage, at a national level, trying to prevent certain countries from getting a nuclear bomb. Are we facing the same prospect?
Well, I think, you know, judgment, there are all kinds of slogans around about ethic or ethos of doing what we do in every way. So there's the judgment that needs to be factored into it. Will AI be able to, with information abundance, play a role in judgment? Not yet. I don't see it that way just yet. But I think AI will facilitate our ability to come to the right judgment or the wrong judgment in a much more speedy way. So your question is going to be dependent on how we address the judgment issue.
I like your answer, but it doesn't really answer the question.
Yes, I'm
in a sense, because we do face practical issues. This is what I find fascinating, the whole AI debate. We can have it at a theoretical, we can have it at a philosophical and conceptual, but the reality is it's actually at the initiation and at the grassroots.
So there's two things I want to say. First of all, I want to remind people that the ethics of certain countries are diametrically opposed to the ethics of other countries. When you're facing poverty and you're facing a dying population, the notion that you're going to live by the ethics of a Western country and abide by it so you can stay in that condition even longer, it's a very difficult imposition. We're seeing it in climate, and we're going to see it with technology. So if some of these places can use technology to counteract the disadvantages that they have, I think it's a little bit hypocritical for people to pass laws in Europe or in the US to prohibit certain things. That's just my personal view.
Well,
so
you put your money where your mouth is, didn't you? You actually did give the rights away of the COVID vaccine.
We did. When we started, we said we will not enforce our patents globally during the pandemic, and we didn't. And many other people got into the business. The largest other vaccine used the same technology. So that's one thing I want to say. But I do want to say one other thing. I think it's important we differentiate the uses we're talking about. One is to make humans more efficient and to take rote activities and embody them in automation. To me, extended automation with AI is one degree. The second is if AI makes decisions, medical decisions, bombing decisions. When we do that, we have to have a human to hold accountable for the consequence of the decision. And so however much AI they want to use, I think society generally is right to hold the human who's responsible. I'll say one last thing.
Yeah.
The third quick thing, which we should come back to, is when you use AI in science. Because if you use AI in science, or for that matter in art, but in science, you're making discoveries. These discoveries are experimentally testable. However, you don't understand the model that you use to make your discovery. There's no unethical thing. If the discovery is tested and it's useful to cure cancer, you're just fine. So I worry that governments are going to pass regulations that basically paint with the same brush all those three different use cases, which have very different threats to the human condition. The middle one being where AI substitutes for humans and therefore there's no one to hold accountable for decision making. That's the hardest.
Oh, but that can be dressed up to be a human benefit. Play with me, please, on this. So now we have, as you know, particularly with things like cancer screening and breast cancers, the ability of AI to predict with a much greater accuracy.
Well,
go on. I'll let you tell me if I'm wrong.
If I may pull up a slide that shows the miracle of the immune system.
I think I've just walked into this.
Without any AI participation. And here what you see in this slide is really the ability of the immune system to wipe out cancer in its entirety in a matter of 7 weeks. 7 weeks. On the left, you see a 40-year-old patient with colon cancer, and this patient was going to most likely recur and die. We treated this patient with our products, and 7 weeks later, you see the miracle on the right. Now, can AI enhance this? You had a question.
No, I want you to keep going. Keep going. Tell me where's the AI element in this?
Okay, so the question is, can AI enhance this? So clearly, this, what you see here, is happening in about 65% of the patients that are treated in this type of disease that doesn't respond to really anything else properly. And the question is, can we take this to 100% with the use of AI and understanding the algorithms by which the immune system can be modulated to do it better? And the answer is yes, we're working on that as we speak. You can do that, as Nubar said, by designing the molecule differently, and you can do that by predictive algorithms that could determine which patient is most likely to respond to what drug. And that's where AI becomes exciting.
Oh, absolutely. But let me now throw at you the situation where AI has predicted the outcome, and in a world of finite resources, it basically says, you shouldn't get it. You should not get the treatment because in a finite world, he stands a better chance, considerably, and we're not talking about a bit of a better. Okay, now, to your point, your argument is, well, that is where human intervention needs to come involved. You've got responsibilities that mean that if you drop dead, it'll cost us more in the longer run than if you drop dead.
So this is what I was trying to say, is that...
But what I'm saying is the AI will win the argument.
No, they won't. Not in the current form of society. So AI, so the human, first of all, we think doctors are right about when they think somebody shouldn't get treatment, somebody should. And they are prone to the limits of their cognitive skills, their ability to read radiation, kind of radiographs. And so I think, this is the old story about, the two friends where one puts on the shoes and the other one says, run away, there's a bear coming. And the one says, I don't have to run faster than the bear, I have to run faster than you. That's why he's putting on his running shoes. AI doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be as good or better than the human for it to augment the human. But the responsibility, in my view, will remain in a human because it's a human's life. And I don't think as a society we're going to yet, it might come a day, but that's a very different a change in the balance between, because imagine a government that is going to use a computer to do what it's supposed to do where a human can't hold anybody accountable. And what are we voting for? Right? Who are we voting for? A computer.
I can easily imagine that scenario. I can easily imagine a scenario in a healthcare system where they say that. But let me just take your point and add yours. So now we have the AI which has taken all your data and basically says, well, in a perfect world, you treat him because he's more likely to live much more than him. But would it be right for us to feed into that AI calculus? Well, actually, he is a breadwinner for 7 children and 15 people rely on him. If he drops dead, the one you think should be treated, actually, it's a lesser economic advantage. Should we tell AI that?
Well, I think one thing that we should not forget is we are all individual creatures. And as individual creatures, the way we're treated, the way we respond to things is really individualized. And the fundamental question is, can AI ultimately help us address that individuality with a huge amount of data that we'll be able to analyze and come up with solutions, individual solutions? And I think that remains to be seen, and it's a very exciting prospect. Now, biology has addressed this individuality by the evolution of the immune system, because the immune system is individualized and it can detect individual diseases based on your individual capabilities and respond accordingly. Now, can we emulate that exogenously? The answer is probably we will be able to do some, but not perfectly. Biology is still the perfect solution.
I want to take you away from the science, if I may, because you both have very sizable philanthropic works. The IMF came up with a report last year in which it basically said AI is going to worsen the divide because those countries who barely have electricity are going to be falling further back, let alone, I mean, just the amount of power needed for much of it. So not only is AI going to be a benefit to the developed world, it's actually going to be a hindrance to the developing world, regardless of what medical benefits, on pure economic productive basis. How do we deal with that?
It can exacerbate the course we're on already.
It's going to, they
yeah,
say.
No, it can, and it will. I think the counterpoint to that will be that will we be able to use the same type of AI to generate products at cost points that make a more direct and immediate impact to those who are the beneficiaries of that, and therefore counteract the otherwise worsening competitiveness that might be faced. That's the reality. Look, the world is teetering to a place where you're going to have, with climate change, for example, massive refugee flux. The rest of the world is going to feel the impact of these inequities. And technology, again, the interesting question becomes, this is a technology conference and it has a societal impact. It's not going to take the technologists alone to resolve how society, let alone global society, deals with these issues. Technologists are developing capabilities and potential, possibilities, sometimes impossibilities. And the question is, in what sequence, and the key question, and I'm sure you're going to get to that, is how does capitalism properly allocate resources with new breakthrough technologies in order to have the kind of impact humanity needs? And to me, the answer to that is no. And that's where governments have to actually supersede, in my view, just a pure market's view of where the technology should go, which might be to make Bitcoin or whatever use you might want to make from it, instead of saying, you know what, if we don't actually mind how it's impacting the planet, then it's going to actually come back in a harsh way. That's what we learned during the pandemic, when actually the Western countries thought if they just take care of themselves, the rest of the world didn't matter. And we saw the consequence of that.
It was painful.
It was very painful to the Western world and to the rest. Same thing will happen with AI. I hope that some of the discussions that are taking place will cause us to have a bit more of a holistic, compassionate view of this. It's not up to the technologists alone, but the technologists can't shun their responsibility either.
Right, but both of you have taken on board in your lives and your careers and now in your public personas the philanthropic and indeed the policy issues raised. If we are moving, Garo, if we are moving to a state where we know that this digital divide is going to get worse. These countries simply will not be able to keep up with the power necessary. Never mind, can they buy the equipment? What role is it incumbent upon us?
I think this is a very exciting question to answer. And to the extent, and we believe this, by the way, with proper leadership guidance, to the extent that one believes real change will happen at a grassroots level, and that will involve empowering the grassroots, because while you don't expect everybody to operate at a brilliant level, there are unquestionably pockets of brilliance amongst the masses in poor countries, in rich countries, and what I believe is that AI will level the playing field so that we can have these pockets of brilliance make the real change.
Let me just say two quick things, because I know you're trying to get us to the philanthropy part. In the country of Armenia, we have two specific projects that I can list among many. One of them is the Foundation for Armenian Science Technology, FAST. After many years of working very broadly in lots of different areas, we chose to work in the area of AI starting about 3 years ago, deeply to try to identify how we could potentially use AI to compete like we do in chess, in an area where, while the capital costs are extreme, but accessing computing capability, we could work on the algorithm and the use side of it. The way we approached it is exactly how Rev suggested, which is we decided to develop programs and implement them in the school system. So in the upper classes of high school, we have implemented in a pilot program in 15 schools now, looking to scale it to the whole country, AI training for hundreds of hours a year, as opposed to an elective course that you do like you do judo or whatever. And that is one way in which you can start impacting for countries to be able to play catch up much more quickly. The second area, quite different, is that we started, because of the trauma the countries felt post the recent wars and the ethnic cleansing, etc., there's a lot of traumatized people. So there's a huge psychosocial need here. And we just started developing a foundation called SRF, Spiritual Revival Foundation, that's trying to deliver a new way of narrative therapy, and I'll tell you how it relates to AI, narrative therapy that combines the Armenian tradition with modern narrative techniques to help people revive from the otherwise state that they find themselves in post-trauma, real serious trauma. Why does this relate to AI? Well, with large language models, quite unbeknownst to our efforts, back in Boston with my colleague Armen we've been developing large language model-based ways to actually help people online with the kind of narrative therapy that could help them deal with various other psychological threats and conditions. And so marrying those two things, the philanthropic side with trauma, addressing trauma, the computing side to just create agent-based models of human behavior, we may well be able to, and we'll see, marry these two and try computer-augmented ways to deliver this, because where that matters is scale. If there's not enough psychologists in this country to deal with the kind of trauma that has existed here, nor are there in many other, nor is there in Gaza, nor is there in Lebanon, nor is there in anyway in Ukraine. So why I say that is here's an interesting place where the cutting edge of technology, not yet developed algorithms, can be quickly applied through philanthropy to try to bring about good, or at least to test it in a very safe way.
The journalist in me likes what I hear, and then immediately wants to say, but this really depends on who's setting the algorithm. This really depends on who is, without wanting to return to, evil versus good, it depends on whose hand is on the lever. And I guess we really can't come up with a series of rules, laws, and regulations for the mendacious and the evil. We can't really, can we? We can't cut off every opportunity. As you say, we have to deal with consequences when it goes wrong, rather than trying to prevent it every single time. Your point about leveling the playing field using AI, but don't you have to unlevel the playing field to start with? In other words, it's fine to say everybody will have great opportunity, but if they haven't got great opportunity now, and AI is going to make it worse, how do you level them so that they start from a level playing field?
See, I'm not sure if I agree with you, Richard, on that, because what AI can do, and has done already, is provide the access, easy access to things that we wouldn't be able to do without it. Meaning, if the grassroots forces or beings did not have access to the kind of information at their fingertips that AI could provide, I think the leveling field could be an important phenomenon here to make sure that these people have access to everything in terms of information that we have access to. And information, of course, is processing of information is the power with which change comes about. And that's, I think, is critical.
So I just want to add one thing, just because it's a kind of a strange moment. We're having an AI discussion with all our kind of historic kind of family of mainly Armenians here. And so this is a biblical land, as you know. And if you permit me, I will take us to one of the oldest biblical kind of stories that many different religions, not just Christianity, have at their root, which might surprise you, so forgive me as a scientist engineer for using this expression, but I think it's telling to the very thing you just said. So in Genesis, there is a description of God basically warning humans, Eve and Adam, but to not bite from the tree of knowledge. And if you actually read it carefully, the translation is, it's a tree of knowledge of evil and good. And it says, do not bite that, or else you'll be condemned. Condemned to what? Condemned to seek knowledge about good and evil for the rest of your eternity. So this is not a new question. Humans have been essentially trying to cope with knowledge-driven good and evil. This might sound crazy, but think it through. And AI will make humans somewhat accelerated in both the sides of that. All I'm saying to you, and I'm going to insist on it, is that humans can't blame AI. Humans need to take the responsibility continuously, in my view, of being accountable to each other, to society, to governments, to the governed, of actually standing for their decision making. You can't blame AI.
If you had been there in the garden, would you have eaten from the apple?
Yes. That's the human condition. That's the human condition.
All right. How many of you in this room? Let's have some light. Oh, there's a biblical one. Let there be light.
There you go.
Unfortunately, they weren't listening. How many of you would have eaten?
How many would have eaten from the tree of knowledge?
How many would have eaten from the tree? All right. You'd have all been naked wandering around.
The rest of them are shy about admitting it, actually.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Keep the light. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, since we're in the knowledge. I'll take 2 questions from anyone in here. I mean, I'll take 1 question from 2 people. If you've got a question that you want to ask them, just come forward here. Can't say fairer than that. But don't say you didn't get the opportunity. If you're brave enough, just come to the front here and you can ask your question. Or just stand up. Oh, good Lord, there's always one.
One level.
Give me a microphone, please.
There's another one.
There we go. I didn't check with our guests here. You're okay with this, aren't you?
Of course.
Absolutely. Hello. Now, you can ask a question, you can't make a speech.
Well, it's a long question.
Oh, good grief.
Well, let me tell you why, though. I'm an IT kid. I was into science fiction from about 6, 7, 8 years old. And I knew about computers before I grew up, went to school in USL in Louisiana, and took IT classes.
Right.
First class I took...
what's the question?
You got to listen to this because it makes a difference. The first class I took was R programming, which the instructor stood up and said, welcome to R programming, and this was in the 70s. It can be run on AI computers. I was excited.
Right.
The question is, why hasn't, well, I know why, but why won't the people like you and other IT people insist that the government agencies like China, US, all the England, all the agents in the world implement Robert Heinlein's laws on AI computing.
Sir.
So the question is, why don't they increase the adoption of these things in schools? Is that
No, why won't all the IT people at your level and above insist that the governments enforce Robert Heinlein's laws on AI computing? Like AI computing says computers will do no harm to humans.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So I get it. So
Yeah,
kind of a
thank you, sir.
Hippocratic oath
Hippocratic
of AI.
oath.
A Hippocratic of AI. Look, I think that's a good general idea. I can't comment on the specifics of where that is in the debate because I haven't engaged in that debate. But I did say earlier that I think technologists have responsibility to enter into the ethical debate, not on their own, but they should take this on. I don't like technologists saying, look, I'm just a technologist, I invent the capability, some other ethics person should deal with that. We are responsible as well.
And I'm not sure that a Hippocratic oath for AI would work anyway. I think we learned that from the Second World War, that when people want to go rogue, medicals or otherwise, it won't make any difference.
That's right.
Unless you want to add anything to that.
No, I mean, I agree. The problem is neither I nor any of the people in the private sector, whether it's IT or anything else, have the capacity to push the government to do anything. We can.
Oh, you're being modest.
No. We can encourage them. We can show them the light. But I think at the end of the day...
In an election year, you have power.
Only with money.
Well,
and a little bit of love.
The next question.
Hi, everyone. I'm Armen, and thank you for the introduction. Thank you for your speech. You have been my heroes.
Oh, please, don't flatter them.
Oh, no. You have been my heroes. That's why I started studying chemistry for my bachelor's, and currently I'm doing AI to do chemical reaction prediction for my PhD, and I would love to do it with you, with one of your companies.
Oh, great. Now he's doing a job application. This man is going to go far.
We'll test you out for a week, and if you are really performing, then we'll hire you, of course.
I would love to keep contact with you.
Thank you.
Don't push your luck. You've just been given the offer.
We'll see you. We can talk to you outside.
Was there a question?
Thank you for the opportunities that you created for Armenia.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think of all the people here today, this gentleman deserves a round of applause. He saw his moment and he went for it. Please, don't tell me you want them to invest in your company.
I'm proud Vice Minister of the high-tech industry in Armenia, so I'm satisfied with the job what I'm doing in the AI
so you're
direction.
A politician.
So thank you very much.
You're the Vice Minister.
You're doing very well.
Thank you very much. First Vice Minister.
Right, how many have you got?
We have two others. But we are the
never
colleagues.
mind that.
So my question, and thank you very much for that, and don't you think that the creator in a past maybe, it was somehow simulated by using the AI, and all the intelligence what we have right now have a similarities what we are building right now? And the question is, what is the line where we will end, and what's the red line or the limit?
Meaning what?
Meaning what? That we will replicate the humankind like us using the AI right now.
So what red line do you want them to describe?
Do we need to stop some days or not?
Oh.
Are we going to talk about this after you come back on stage? This is the human AI fusion question.
Hold that. We're
going to comment
we'll finish
on that.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, sir. Your last question, and then we'll finish.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Bezjan, Richard Tikran Bezjan, and I'm also a technologist. I've spent the last 30, 40 years. I know the fine gentleman here. And I have come to the conclusion that politicians, regulators are not ready and really able or have the focus to implement regulations, to control the technology. Now we are driving technology, so my question is, can we, starting here today, maybe in Armenia, at WCIT, start a movement that we create a global group of technologists who we know where it's going, but to start really affecting humanity's future in its regulation?
Well, there's quite a few of them already, groups looking at this, but thank you, sir. I want to ask you a question based on what the gentleman said. Are politicians up to the game?
They have to be.
Ignore the minister.
They have to be. Well, that's the whole point of being in government, is that you don't have a choice. You're given the mandate, and you have to access external input and do the best you can. So they have to be.
But
I think Nubar said they have to be, and I agree with that. But the reality is that politics, by definition, puts into place individuals who are always behind the curve in making these decisions. And the reason for it is that they are responsible and accountable to so many constituencies, and it's very difficult for them to really lead the game, if you will.
I venture to suggest, and then we'll come to your question, I venture to suggest there's one other thing that you didn't mention. Politicians, as a leader of the Eurogroup famously said once, we all know what needs to be done. We just can't get re-elected if we do it.
That's a key consideration.
Sorry,
everywhere.
Vice Minister. Carry on. Your last question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Richard,
My name is...
Before the next question, I consulted with ChatGPT, and it says the readiness of politicians to regulate AI varies significantly across different countries and political environments, and then goes on to say how they should think about it. So if I wasn't ready and I was a government person, I'd use AI.
I think that's
Minister,
great.
he'll forward
Great
it to
idea.
you on WhatsApp. Oh, he's already asked it. Right, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My name is Anna Hovsepian. I'm a PhD candidate in law and AI from King's College London.
Oh, now you're in trouble, gentlemen. Now you're in trouble.
I do believe in technology, but I also believe in regulation. And I wanted to bring two examples and ask the question. So I think the myth that regulation stifles innovation is not true. And the reason is, look at the car industry. We can see that the only thing that regulation did is actually created safety. Safety helped to promote cars and traffic and everything. And it actually ended up being very beneficial for the industry. The other thing that, yes, sometimes it can stifle innovation and research. Look at psychiatry, for example. We had lots of ethics, code of conduct, etc. Then stop. So my question, why do you not believe in regulation? Well, there is so much evidence that it does actually the opposite.
No. They've said they do believe in regulation.
Garo, Armen, I think you mentioned that you are not that much in support of regulation.
I think that it's a very fine balance, as you said. Regulation ensuring safety of the masses versus regulation that stifles innovation. And I think that balance is very difficult for politicians to be able to deliver. And so I think we need to play an active role in all of this, but regulation can be good or bad. We just have to make sure that we can distinguish, just like anything else, good and evil. There's the good regulation and the evil regulation. We just need to make sure that we balance it.
In a nutshell, what Garo is saying, and I agree with this, I don't think anybody's against regulation, but people are always against overregulation. And the problem is it's really hard to know where the line is. So I think you're not going to find anybody who says, I don't want any regulation. But of course, people tend to go to the extreme and then let people push back. And you'll see people like us try to push back on its overuse. And I think you're totally right. You need, from the legal profession, you need to expansively regulate. And then the technologists and the end users and beneficiaries have to say, yeah, but people are dying as a result, and then try to figure that out. And I think that dialogue will happen.
Final points. We've got a few minutes left. You touched on it earlier, capitalism and AI. Those of us of a certain age have been through these cycles, dot-com boom and bust, pet.com. It was all going to be the information superhighway of Al Gore. And then it all went a bit tits up, and then it came back, and as you're right, I get weary with my junior, younger colleagues who all sort of, and the market's basically children on Candy Rush. NVIDIA's stock price. NVIDIA's playing a game for 30, 40 years. It's not worried about what its price is a week next Thursday. Is the market equipped to handle the capitalism of AI?
I think that's a very long answer to your question that I'd like to undertake.
A yes or a no
which I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
And that's what we're seeing at the moment, isn't it? These ridiculous swings because the market can't value properly. In 20 years' time, I looked at the price of Intel, by the way, and no, Cisco. And if you looked at it at the bottom of the 90s when it hit its bottom, and you now look at it today,
I mean, the bottom line, Richard, is that over short periods of time, the market is not nearly as efficient as people think. Over the long haul, it corrects itself, of course.
Yeah,
but right now, I think, given the volatility and the speed with which ideas are being proposed, you will see major gyrations in the marketplace.
And if that is the case, how much of a hindrance is the market to if you will, the proper development of this? Because if you can't get funding, if investors, you know this, Nubar?
Yes, so look, these kinds of questions that you're asking, there's an underlying assumption that the market is somehow rational, and we all know that most of the data suggests the market is irrational. But over time, irrational things produce seemingly rational results in hindsight. That's because it's an emergent system. So in nature is itself irrational. It doesn't make sense, all the things evolution's produced, and yet, once it's produced them, you can go back and try to come up with reasons why, oh yeah, now I understand why you have eyesight, and why you have this and you have that. So I almost don't think that measuring the gyrations of a market and trying to superimpose logic to it actually is rational. So at any given time, the market's wrong. It's a turbulent system. Within it is born things that, if they gain advantage, become a new norm, and that then leads the way. Google was born into an awful market. For the first 4 years, they could barely kind of get by. Then it did one of the biggest IPOs ever, and it's become the giant that it is. Nobody could have and would have predicted it, even people who claim now that they predicted it. There's always randomly somebody who will have said anything, right? This is the black swan theory. So I would just say, my concern is that resource allocation that's done by markets will in fact slow things down.
Yes.
Expectation, disappointments, and all that will slow things down. But just before, I don't want to lose here by, if you don't mind, by me bringing the discussion back to Armenia for the minute that we have. We could have done it longer, but hopefully the rest of the conference covers it more. Look, we're in Armenia, and I want to say emphatically, 4 or 5 years ago at a FAST conference when we talked about AI, which was kind of early in its embodiment, I mentioned that I think of AI as two other versions. One is augmented intelligence, and the other one is Armenian intelligence. And what I mean by that is that we need to aspire, by adopting this as a core value in the country's education, in the country's technology sector, to actually not be shy. We always tell ourselves that we can't win the World Cup, we can't do this, we can't do that, our country's size. This is a technology, a catalytic technology, that if we can properly jump on and actually be lead users, early adopters of, we do have a chance. You might say, how in the world are you going to compete with India, and are you going to compete with all these other countries? And the answer is, kind of, we don't have to. One way we can compete is by being willing to take on more uncertainty and more kind of early applications. If we do that, I think it'll become tantamount to Armenian intelligence.
The last question. You can give AI one human attribute. All right? You can invest AI with a human attribute immediately. Would it be grief, judgment, love, humor, appreciation? What would be the one thing you would, if you were the tap of God to AI, what would it be? You first, and then you, sir.
I'd say one attribute would be empathy. Empathy, because if we put empathy into the equation, then goodwill will dominate the product of AI. And without AI as a resource in Armenia, as Nubar said, we would be stripped of a tool that I think will play a major role in the evolution of many of the things that we do, including evolution of goodness and evolution of advancement. And Nubar's famous phrase always is taking intelligent risks. Without risks, we cannot accomplish anything.
What's the...
Yeah, so since he took empathy, I will, and I don't want to cheat, but I want to use the balancing act that I always talk about for 25 years, which is what I call paranoid optimism. If AI can balance paranoia and optimism, it can drive cautious progress. It can drive responsible progress. If it's only optimistic, creating all sorts of hallucinations and kind of predictions. It's going to drive us awry. If it's only paranoid, it'll tell you all the things that are wrong with articles and interviews you do. So we don't need a skeptical AI. We need the marriage of the two. Paranoid optimism is what I would endow.
And if we get paranoid optimism with empathy, we end up with this audience.
Perfect solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.